Hey everyone, your friendly neighborhood Pants is back with another Siege video, and today we're up against Tilt and Swag. I was a little slow to take a look at the frontline defenses this time around. Swag is generally very quick to the punch and always wants a one-day siege, which I think most guilds are like that, so you can collect your reward sooner. Anyways, this first match is up against my boy Alpha Enderman. He's got a big PP, you can check him out on Twitch. He streams his sieges pretty often. Anyways, with Carcano Giana Savannahs, I bring the same team I normally bring against Carcano Clara Savannah, and I think it actually works better. Clara should stun more than Giana since I'm not running Will on this offense, and he loses out on a second defense breaker. Giana's bomb can deal some damage, but the bomb potentially gets cleansed away from Raccoony. Savannah has trouble landing defense breaks against this comp most often since it's, high defense and high resistance and double fire, so he's really relying on Carcano to land his defense breaks. I've noticed that really any Carcano Savannah X comp can be countered fairly well with this team, and I honestly think the best X for Carcano and Savannah is Clara. No other stripper can really compete with Clara as far as guild defenses goes, from what I can tell. Maybe Volantis, but who owns Volantis? Again, this offense isn't 100%, but it's very solid, and I'll continue using it. Next up, we have You Failed Me as Carcano Vigor Triana, which is what Swag spammed all Siege, along with Carcano Savannah teams. They have so many Savannahs, it's ridiculous. So you'll see me hit a ton this siege. I brought what is seemingly my best counter that I've found so far. At the start of the match here, my cocky violent procs to trigger Triana's passive, but it's a double-edged sword since he procs out of his own immunity. So of course, Vigor defense breaks him right after and then procs into his heal. So then I was left to make a decision of whether or not I should cleanse cocky or put immunity up with Fran, and I think the right move is to certainly do the cleanse, which I do. But that would just leave cocky without immunity for Carcano to defense break and proc and kill him right away. Luckily, my Fran procs back into immunity, which led to a comfortable win. But it's stuff like this that confirms my suspicion that most tried and true counters can always find a way to, have the stars align and fail. RNG can make it happen. So next is Methods Carcano Clara Savannah. Unfortunately, my recording for this match glitched in some way, so it starts a few turns in. I'm bringing Malite Tetra Rika, which is a team I discovered a few sieges back that I've really been liking, but it makes me wish I had 10 Rikas. Sorry if you don't own her. I highly recommend summoning one. She's absurdly good in so many areas of the game, including today's Carcano Savannah meta. The closest replacement to her is Belinus that I can think of, then maybe like the Dark Grim Reaper or something, but I'm too scared to use the Dark Grim Reaper just because of his base stats. He also isn't fire, so Savannah could easily kill him. I think even if my Malite died at the start of the match, which could have easily happened with a Violent Proc and crit from Savannah, that my Tetra Rika could still potentially 2v3 just because Rika's OP. It would take a bit of RNG on my side, but I certainly think it could happen. So anyways, got the win here. Next I hit Impud's Carcano Vigor Triana, and I just Lucian it. Not much more I can say about this comp except that I hope everyone summons themselves a Mirene or something to set up Lucian better than just Tian and a speed lead. If you've been watching my replays for a while, you could see that I hardly used Lucian because I just didn't trust mine to deal enough damage or trust my Tian speed. But if you pull the Light Harg and Jamire, for example, Frigate, Mirene, or anything like that to give your Fat Lucian a better setup than just a Garuda, it can basically give you a free win. So good luck with your summons. Next I hit Steven GR's Carcano Clara Savannah, and this time I'm bringing Jean, Leo, and Tessarion. You can check out my win rate with it so far this season here. 3-1 really isn't anything special, and it's a fairly small sample size. That said, this is only for this season, and in total my win rate with this team is probably close to 90%. Leo nerfs Savannah to a very significant degree. I know some people are hesitant to use this comp. Like I remember one of Xenial's streams, someone suggested Jean Leo, and he got into a rant about how he loses with it into Savannah all the time. I think what makes my team work really well is having Nemesis on Jean. Since she's dealt damage from Savannah's skill 3 and Leo prevents any possibility of her attack bar getting reduced, she's guaranteed to take the next turn. So even though my Leo gets defense broken, my Jean is able to provoke and cleanse the defense break away right away. So it loses if Savannah procs enough to kill Leo or Jean on her first turn, or if Carcano does Carcano things to violent proc his way into victory. But if you survive the first turn, more often than not, you should get the win. Next, I hit Methods Carcano Clara Savannah again, and this time I'm trying Fang, Amelia, and Sin, which needs more testing. Here my Fang gets completely obliterated the moment the match begins, so I'm thinking I really need to re-rune him to 100 resistance. Most Claras will laugh in the face of 100 resistance, but it should give me a better chance at resisting Savannah Strip at least, and just as importantly, Carcano's defense break, probably more importantly. So I'll need to take a look at my runes to see what I can do. I haven't really re-runed my account in years. I mostly move runes around during Siege on a select few units, and when I found out about like a new OP defense that my monster box can actually run, then I'll, move runes around for like Carcano Fuki Beta, that's something I can run, so I re-runed for that. But most of my monsters have been runed the same way for a long time because it just takes a lot of time to sit down and mess with runes. But anyway, similar to a couple sieges ago, Sin carries me pretty hard here. Amelia Sin seems like a really solid combination. It definitely could have gone either way after Fang died, but luckily I held on and got to a point where it was a 1v1 with Clara and Amelia, which Amelia should win 100% of the time since she heals herself, unless she was in like human form whenever the 1v1 begins and already low on HP, and it's like a violent or despair Clara that just stun locks her or something ridiculous. But anyways, I hung on here and got the win. Next, I hit Enhances Carcano Kinki Vigor. Enhanced apostrophe S, I guess. That's hard to say. I don't think this is a particularly strong Kinki defense. When it comes to 4-star defenses, if you aren't running an LD Mermaid or a Triana, you're doing something wrong. This defense has no stripper and nothing to deal with bombers, so it should just be a free win. There, of course, could be a rare occasion where everyone resists both bombs, but that should be extremely rare, even if it's runed on high resistance, because most bombers are going to be runed high accuracy. So if you happen to own Kinki, realize that people are generally bombing him or throwing rocks in the air at him, and build your teams accordingly. It's important to know what people are likely to bring into your defense before running it, so you can adjust it into a better comp or rune it to combat whatever the common counter to it might be. I suggest whenever you have a defense idea to just ask your guild chat what people think of it and if they're able to test it out, so you can get some feedback. That way you can find out if the defense is all that it could be or if it's lacking in some way before an actual siege begins. Next, I try against Black Pinku CVT, and I'm bringing a pseudo mirror with Carcano Tractor Triana. I think it might have been a mistake for me to work on Carcano first here because I want my Carcano to target his defense break at Triana. So after his Triana heals, I start targeting her instead. I get her down to like 1 HP and need to decide if I should cleanse away my Triana's defense break or kill his Triana, which isn't a particularly easy decision. Ideally, I would get a proc so I could do both, but that doesn't happen here. So my Triana dies immediately after killing his. I decided to kill her because I knew his Vigor had his heal ready, so she would certainly recover, and that would leave me in a nasty 2v3. Either that or I'm in a nasty 1v2, which is what I end up in. So unless my Triana got lucky and somehow survived a hit from Carcano, I was kind of GG's. A few sieges back, I mentioned that I got a loss with this counter and that I probably wasn't going to use it anymore, and I was referring to this match here. At the time, I thought it was a very safe team, but that's why it's important to test things out, a bunch of times, because there's so many different ways the RNG can line up. There's more than just violent procs to consider. Teams can be runed differently, speed tuned differently, HP tank Trianas versus crit damage builds. You never know unless you test it out a ton. Accuracy and resistance checks are just as big as an RNG factor as violent despair procs, maybe even more so. Anyways, I get wrecked here, unfortunately. Next, I hit Wrath of Heaven CVT, and I'm bringing Susanoo, Stella, and Megan, which is often a rune quality check, similar to when people brought this comp against the old Martina Shayna meta, but maybe to a lesser degree, because I think the majority of Stellas would kill the majority of Carcanos through Triana's passive, just like I do here. I could be wrong on that, but that would be my assumption. Anytime you can get yourself into a 3v2 scenario right at the start of a match, you've put yourself in a great spot. This is a 3v2 you can lose, however. Anytime Triana's on a crit damage build and is landing or sleeps, it can get real scary. I'm also lame and have a 5-star Megan here, but I did finally 6-star her, I think immediately after this siege because of this match, if I recall. Luckily, Triana doesn't proc enough to reset her passive, and I'm able to finish Vigor off and somehow win a 1v1 with Susanoo and Triana. I guess that's a 1v1 Susanoo can win, but it's I don't know. To me, it'd be like pretty risky. And also, this isn't like a super crazy RNG scenario. I would expect Susanoo and Triana 1v1s to happen with this team fairly often. So having win damage reduction on your Susanoo and high crit rate should make it pretty safe, but again, I'm sure it could lose. So after that very scary win, I wanted something easy for my last match, so I found Neil Azar's Khmun, Orion, Savannah, which I'll hit all day, every day with Seagay. And so that's what I did. I just Seagayed it. There's a handful of other AoE DDs that I could replace Seagay with, but the Dark Samurai looks cool. So I'll just keep using him to tackle any Orion defense that I see because 90% of the time it's a free win. I did okay this siege, but Swag still completely wrecked us. It wasn't even remotely close. If you want to learn all about how speed works in Summoner's War, you can check out that video here, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Next I hit enhances. Next I hit enhanced.